I met a gypsy.
But like they used to have this big trials event in SoCal, and like Jeff Aaron was there. But like people would be like, "Oh, who's your idol?" And like I didn't even know who Jeff Aaron was, and he was national champ like 10 times. You know, I was growing up watching the same 2 VHS tapes from 1990 World Trials.
Well, when was that? Like the indoor.
It was. They had indoor stuff. Yeah, so they had indoor, but it was outdoor, and it was like Vancouver, Washington. It was Ioko, this place in Vancouver, and then it was like some place in Arizona. But I watched the same 2 VHS tapes, so I looked up to like all these old school trials guys, like Jordy Torres, and like these people don't even know anymore. Like I'm sure you've seen Paul Torres doing like gnarly shit on the Tenere. Yeah, like his uncle was like the people I grew up watching. Yeah, right. And then like Graham Jarvis, he came a little bit later on, but like it was Graham Jarvis, Dougie Lampkin. Like Dougie did a little bit of hard enduro stuff and was good at it, but like never really went anywhere and stopped with it. So I grew up watching like the old school trials where it was like keep your momentum, like huge floater turns, and then now you got like Tony Bow, who's like the rear tire hopping generation, who just does everything like unreal. You know what I mean? Like I watch him. I was a decent trials rider, and I just shake my head like this guy's ridiculous. Yeah.
So the level was just keep like it just because
it changed. The riding style changed. Like I was a more old school because that's how I grew up as my dad riding. Yeah. So we started doing nationals when I was 10, and I rode the high school class, and they're like, "Oh, you can't ride this class. You're too young." So there's no class for me to ride. And my dad's like, "Okay, well, I'll sign him up sportsman. There's no age limit." They're like, "Okay, fine. You can ride high school class." So I was 10 years old riding against like high school age kids. Yeah. And then I won that in 2002. Yeah. And then at that time I started riding for Jeff Aaron had Team ERE, like Extreme Riding Entertainment. And Jeff Aaron was like one of the first Red Bull athletes, I think, in America, like 2000 or something like that. So I rode for Jeff Aaron's trials team, and 2002 won the high school championship. 2003 won the expert national championship. And then I went pro at the end of that year, and I couldn't even like hop. I was really just being efficient. And like, I think 2006, I won my first ever national overall event. Yeah. And then that was Jeff Aaron's last year. And I'm like, all right, I'm all good to go. And then this freaking guy, Pat Smodgy, came in. Yeah, right. And he beat me. Like I got second like multiple years in a row. And then finally in 2010.
He's such a cool guy.
He's gnarly.
Yeah.
But then in 2010, I won the Trials National Championship finally. And then I went to Beta that next year. And that's kind of when I started riding enduro bikes a little bit more, like 2000.
So you just didn't really do.
I never had a dirt bike till I was 19 because my mom said they were dangerous.
No way.
So I think I rode 2007 was the first enduro cross I ever did because I had them in Vegas. It was like a one-off event. Yeah, No one knew what they were doing back then.
I remember that.
John Dowd, I think, won the first one.
Yep.
I rode that bike. His 2006 RM250. It was a pretty sick bike.
No way, dude. I fully remember that event.
So then I did it, I think, one in 2007 on my trials bike, and I was like the first guy to not qualify for the main event that night. So then in 2008, at the end of the year, they had it again. I think they had 3 rounds in 2008, and I showed up I bought like a KTM from our local dealer like 2 weeks before, and I like almost made the main event for the first, like on a big bike. And then in 2009, I went to the last 2 events of the year, like a buddy of mine that like kind of did like a vet guy, and he just kind of like sponsored me and paid for me to go with him. I think it was just like a fun trip for him. And then I made both those main events, and then I kind of just started doing enduro cross just for fun more and like practicing it a little bit, but like I still was doing trials. And then 2010 won the Trials National Championship. So obviously that was like my main focus still. Yeah. And then
were you getting paid to ride trials?
Yeah, but not much. I mean, I was 15 years old and had a salary. Like that's better than most people. But
what
like,
would it have been back then?
My salary, I think in 2015 was like, no, not 2015. It was like 2005 on a Sherco. And I think I was doing really good.
Yeah, right.
I think I made 15 grand.
Fine, not bad.
That was pretty good, right?
For a 15.
But like, there was no like. Then it never really went anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like I think the year I won the Trials Championship, I think I was like made 20 grand. Like in 5 years, I made 5 grand. Like so, like Billy Bull. Like I'm glad I got out of that. Yeah. Unfortunately.
That's so wild that you didn't ride a proper dirt bike till you were 19. Did you just Did you look up to like?
I rode like a
Supercross and any.
Yeah,
of that
I
shit,
watched Supercross a little bit. I remember going, like San Francisco and like Carmichael on the 250 two-stroke RM. Like I remember going to that and stuff and watching it, and like I thought it was cool. I never even went to a I just never rode a motocross bike or dirt bike.
That's wild, dude.
So I just rode trials, and then trials only. I rode like I remember like a buddy of mine had a Yamaha 426, and I thought that was the fastest. I rode it, and I was like, "This is the fastest bike I've ever ridden."
Dude, I've actually been thinking about getting, like, you can still find those old pieces of shit on Marketplace, and I'm like, I wonder in my head
if it's as good as you remember.
Well, I never got to ride them. I bought it. I think my first 250F was an 04 CRF 250, which actually was a really good bike back then. But those old, like I want to get like an 02 YZF 250 because I fucking just lauded those bikes so heavy back in the day. And like the kid that won all the races won on that bike. And I wonder how good you can make one today.
I have no idea.
Like, they fucking sucked.
I thought it was sick when I rode it back then.
But back then, but if you would compare it now, I know. That bike's terrible. Like, they don't even start when you fucking stop the things.
Yeah, I mean, so then I started doing both trials and enduro-cross, and there really wasn't, I think there was like maybe King of Motos that Jimmy Lewis started or something like that with the Hammer in 2011, maybe. Like Jarvis came out for it. But I was riding a Beta 350. They had just came out with a 350. And the thing was, stock was so heavy. It was like 270 pounds or something. It had all like the, dual sport stuff on it, right? So they built me like, honestly, it was a ridiculously pretty good bike. It just didn't have e-start.
Oh, the worst.
They made it lighter. So it was a 2-speed for enduro-cross.
Wow, that's sick.
Yeah, so I had that from 2011 and 2012, and then Beta came out with the 2013 was the 2-stroke 300, and that literally was like
game changer. Yeah,
it was just, the 4-stroke was, when it came out, it was already outdated, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I won 3 of the last 4 enduro crosses that year on that bike, like beat Taddy, but I missed a round because I broke my foot after the first round. So I came back from a broken foot, and like I think I missed the championship by 11 points. So all I would have had to do in that broken round was like get 7th, and I could have been the champion that year, So I guess that helped because the next year I came out swinging, and I won the 2014 Enduro-Cross Championship, and then I went to like a satellite KTM team, RPM KTM team in 2015, and I was pissed that they wouldn't put on the factory one because Taylor Robert got put on the factory one.
That dog, hey?
And then he got the Red Bull sponsorship. I'm like, you got everything, bro.
You're taking everything I work for. You're like the Nate Diaz.
Yeah, but I was still like the Gooner Trials kid that kind of just came out of nowhere and rode hard stuff. Good, you know what I mean? So, I won the 2014 championship, went to the KTM, and then I still was riding trials a little bit, and I rode like a Montesa 4-stroke that year, which is the same bike that Tony Bow runs. Yeah, and like stock, it's kind of a turbo. They built me like a custom bike from Spain.
Oh, really?
And with trials bikes, dude, people just get the bike and they just ride it. Like,
there's no
suspension tuning. Never heard of her. Like, but they asked me my weight, and like I think it's Showa on that bike. And like it was a 4-stroke, so I struggled with it some with like big ups.
Yeah.
But the suspension on that bike was the best suspension I've ever had on a trial. Like factory for my weight. Like normally you ride a trials bike, and after like 2 months it just feels like dog shit. It's just so clapped out.
Yeah, the oil's
but like
so shit.
I don't know, that bike was awesome. I don't think I didn't win one that year, but also through that time I at least won 1 or 2 trials nationals every year.
Yeah.
But never the championship because it wasn't really my main goal anymore,
Yeah.
So then once I went to factory KTM in 2016, which later in that year is when we shot Donner partying.
Yeah.
I've never competed in a trials event since then.
Yeah, you were like, fuck those guys.
Well, it was a no-go. Like KTM was like, oh, this is a competitor. So then we don't make those. So then they just go and buy gas, and that solves that problem for them.
Yeah, true way.
Yeah, but so then I won the Enduro-Cross on like the satellite team that year, and then got signed. I think it was pretty much set in stone. Like I met with Hammer.
Yeah.
I think like June in 2015. Like it was already pretty much a done deal, and did like the amateur MX training camp with like Pear, like the gnarly dude at Red Bull.
Yeah.
And their training facility. And I was like a 25 or 26 year old dude. And like, it was like with
all the kids.
With the kids.
Jesse Nelson.
Like Pierce Brown.
Yeah.
Cantrell, Falk.
Yeah.
All of those kids. And like, we're like
You're
doing
a
stuff on
engineer.
Yeah. I think I had just almost graduated. I was about to graduate. Yeah, I hadn't graduated yet. So I'm still in school. They are too, you know?
Yeah. But just a different
We're
time.
doing like heart rate stuff, and like Falk's heart rate's like, he's a little kid, right? His thing's like 213 on the bicycle. I'm like, dude, you should be dying right now.
Someone got talk about.
Yeah. So yeah, that was just a really cool I've never had anything like that.
Yeah,
you know?
dude. Yeah, you're
so
like backwoods.
It was just really cool. So I was kind of late to the game, I guess, on getting a quote unquote factory ride and riding for a brand, like a big brand like that, and getting Red Bull, and probably why I'm still here at 35.
Yeah, but I think enduro and like in your world, it's just kind of
the longevity goes a little bit longer. Yeah.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.